So I wasn't planning on making this, as this was a video I had decided against making, but I figured it needed to be said. Again. Because it's been said before, arguably better by others, but I feel I need to reiterate the fact. Animation isn't a genre, and it's not something made specifically for kids to enjoy. It's an art form, a medium of storytelling, just like live action is. It's arguably better than live action, in fact, and the sooner everyone accepts that, the better. So, why do I feel the need to talk about this? Well, during the recent 2022 Oscars, which were a horrible disaster of a train wreck for a number of reasons, one of which just so happens to pertain to a certain animated film, coincidentally, three presenters were chosen by the Academy to present the award for Best Animated Feature Film. They were the actresses that had portrayed, or will portray, specific animated Disney princesses in the live action remakes Cinderella, Jasmine, and Ariel to be precise. And they clearly made it obvious that not only them, but the audience considered animation as a genre for children.
All these characters hold such a special place in our hearts because animated films make up some of our most formative movie experiences as kids.
So many kids watch these movies over and over
And over and over and over and over and over.
I see some parents out there know exactly what we're talking about.
Understandably, Animation Twitter has been mad about this portrayal of the medium, and I totally agree. So let's talk quickly about why animation is a medium for all ages and not a genre for kids. I think the "is animation for kids" question is a bit of a loaded gun, mainly because it's really complicated. For example, animation allows for the portrayal of any world and any environment at any time without being bound to the rules of the real world. As such, it can be seen as more appealing to children because it helps feed a child's imagination. By comparison, live action allows for a world to feel grounded in reality, or at least some kind of reality, which fits to a more adult way of thinking. But that's a very narrow-minded view. Why can't live action be used to stimulate a child's mind? Shows like Sesame Street prove that animation isn't always necessary. And why can't animation feel grounded in at least some kind of reality? Animation is usually made with the idea of, let's make a film for the kiddos to enjoy, and we'll throw in stuff that keep the parents entertained, which really doesn't help the idea of animation being for everyone. Exacerbating the problem is the reverse logic used in making live action content. Let's use the MCU as a comparison point. Do you think movies like Iron Man, Captain America the First Avenger, and Spider-Man Homecoming were made with the intent that kids would be the primary audience? No! They were made to appeal to a mixed audience of young and old, primarily teen through adult. But they're still enjoyable for kids because superheroes are cool and the characters are funny. While they were surely made with kids in mind, that doesn't mean that they don't have serious ideas and themes that exist in there that kids will completely miss until they are older and more experienced. So most live action content is made with adults in mind and given content that kids will enjoy, whereas animated content is made with kids in mind and usually given content that keeps the adults entertained. There are some notable exceptions to these rules, however. In the live action court, we have the family movies, such as The Muppet Movie, whichever one, take your pick, Home Alone, and the classic Mary Poppins. In the animation court, we also have films that toe the line between target audiences. For some more recent examples, let's look at Encanto and Turning Red. Encanto has a lot of story ideas that will go right over kids' heads. I mean, it's a film entirely about generational trauma, which is probably not something kids will necessarily understand or catch on to when they watch it, but teens and adults certainly will. Heck, we haven't even scratched the surface of Surface Pressure, a song literally all about the intense pressure of carrying all of the burdens in an entire family. Then there's Turning Red, a movie entirely about a girl finding her place in the world. Again, not really a topic kids will entirely grasp. Then, moving towards the adult focus camp, let's look at The Incredibles and Ratatouille. There's a reason they're beloved. Both films are more meant for adults, but still enjoyable by kids. And then we have films like Sausage Party that are completely for adults and definitely not for kids in any way, shape, or form. And that's not even mentioning animated shows like Family Guy or the more recent Rick and Morty. So, to make a long story short, animation isn't necessarily for kids. It most often appeals more to that audience, but to say that it's just for kids stuff is extremely narrow-minded and missing the point. Plus, most live-action films nowadays use CGI, a form of animation, in some way, shape, or form. So, without animation, even adult films aren't exactly possible. So, at the beginning of the video, I mentioned that animation may be arguably better than live action, and to an extent, I still believe that. However, I think it comes down to circumstance and artistic choice. Like I said earlier, animation is looser and less grounded in reality. Could you tell the stories of movies like Encanto, Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse in live action? Absolutely, but at the cost of the illusion and the ability to tell the story in a somewhat believable way. See, when you're watching an animated film, you can easily suspend disbelief because it's obvious right away that it isn't real. But with live action, it's specifically created with the idea that it is happening in the real world, or at least a variation of the real world, and thus it must follow the same principles as our world. This is why the Disney remakes, such as The Lion King, don't really work. They're telling the exact same story while just having to bind themselves to a realistic world. What makes the specified movie of The Lion King even dumber is that they already made it entirely animated in the first place. It literally is an animated film that chose to constrain itself to a realistic appearance, and it suffers because of that. Now, I need to point out that the opposite is also true. This isn't just a one-way street. Why couldn't movies like West Side Story, Mary Poppins, and Iron Man be fully animated? Well, again, it's for the same reason. By making them live action, there's a natural sense that the stories are happening, or have happened, in our real world, grounding them in reality. You could totally remake West Side Story as an animated film, but you lose the sense that it actually happened in real-world New York City. You could absolutely remake Iron Man as an animated film, regardless of the fact that a lot of it already is, but it would lose its luster, as it isn't as impressive that it is happening in an obviously fictional world, as opposed to one that could possibly be our own. At the end of the day, it comes down to what story the writers and directors want to tell and how they want to tell it. Does it need to seem grounded in reality, and does it benefit by appearing like it's happening in our world? Then live action is almost 100% the way to go. Does the story benefit from having less of a grip on the realistic world and instead being more fantastical and magical, for lack of better phrasing? Then animation is probably your best bet. As described by Merriam-Webster, a genre is a category or artistic, musical, or literary composition characterized by a particular style, form, or content. A medium, by comparison, is described as a means of affecting or conveying something, such as, in its plural form, media, a channel or system of communication, information, or entertainment, a publication or broadcast that carries advertising, a mode of artistic expression or communication. So, which category does animation fall into? Well, for animation to be a genre, it would have to be a specific category that is consistent. If it was always for kids, then it would be a form of a kids genre and would fit that mold. But without that, it doesn't really work. As for the actual definition itself, we can disprove every statement. Animation isn't an artistic composition because there are many ways to use animation that are vastly different from each other. It's not a musical composition because not every animated film, even from the masters of animated musicals Disney, is a musical. And it most definitely isn't a literary composition. So, does animation have a particular style? Nope. It can be hand-drawn, drawn on a digital canvas, stop-motion animated with clay, or fully CGI. Is there a particular form? Also no. Animation comes in the form of feature-length films, long-form television shows, and short-form videos. Okay, well, does animation have any consistent content? Again, no. You can tell so many different stories with animation. I dare say more than you can with live action. So, is animation a medium? Well, by definition, it's a pretty easy yes to literally everything. It is a system or form of entertainment, a way to advertise something, and most definitely a way to express yourself artistically or communicate something to others. So, yeah, it's a medium, no questions asked. All in all, we need to stop treating animation as a lesser class of entertainment. It can be anything, be anywhere, say anything, and express anything. Not to mention that it's literally needed for 99% of all modern live-action films anyway. Animation isn't something specifically for kids either. It can be for literally anyone, and some of the best animated films in recent decades strike a good balance between being entertaining for kids and interesting and compelling for adults. And animation is not a genre. It can be anything and go anywhere, like I just said. It is a medium for storytelling and expression, and the sooner we accept and understand that, the sooner we can make better and grander animated media. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Additionally, if you think there's somewhere I can improve or you think I made a mistake, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments. I'm always open to courteous discussions, and I'm always down for improving on my own work. That's all from me for now. I need to get back to writing another script I've been working on. Until then, peace out, Fennekin Squad.